I'm petty.
Lazarus from the dead and walked on
Right.
water and turned water into wine. And that, of course, did not happen.
Well, why couldn't people just drink water either? Why did they have to drink wine? He's trying to get people drunk? Like, what's that all
Well,
about?
that's a separate question. But
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Albert, man. I'm coming at y'all with another reaction. Today, man, I'm reacting to Joe Rogan. Apparently, this brother didn't even know that Jesus was a real person. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
That's very admirable, but I think for some people it represents bonding of the community. And
well, you could have
that's-
concerts and lectures and book clubs and
But I think when they get together and they talk about all the values that Jesus proposed, if Jesus is the higher power, it gives them this sort of, again, moral scaffolding to
Yes.
live their life.
yes. Well, Jesus would probably, on the whole, provide a fairly good moral scaffolding. Not totally,
would think.
but
Right.
he was ahead of his time.
Hold on, not totally. What you talking about, bruh? What Jesus ever do to you, homie? Why do you think Jesus wasn't totally moral? From everything that's written about Jesus, whether it be in the Bible or not. What makes you think? You don't know. You wasn't back there. I know you old enough. You look like you was back. No, I'm just playing. That's a dope tie, though. I'm not going to talk about a dude like that.
Anyway,
So you do think he was a real person?
most of the scholars I've talked to say he probably was. The evidence is not great, of course, but I think
Yo, what is great evidence to people? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do people like? Do people just need to have like video? Like, we didn't have a video of a lot of people back in the day. Like, I don't get it. You know, there's that age-old argument of like, you know, Adam or Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar and things of that nature. That, you know, there's more about Jesus than them, and people still believe them. And I ain't gonna front you. I done asked a whole bunch of people like, yo, do you know who Alexander the Great is? And it's like, yeah, but they didn't know that he was real either. But I say all that to say, either way, we know historically speaking, Jesus was real.
I don't think it's that big a deal, actually, because a wandering preacher called Yeshua or Yehoshua would it not be surprising. I mean, it's a common name,
Right.
And there are plenty of wandering preachers. What would be very surprising would be if he raised.
So this man, I'm sorry, I'm not even trying to, we just started, but they making me upset. So this man just said, there's been many wandering preachers, right? How many of them wandering preachers got our calendar based off of it right now? How many of those wandering preachers got a host of people having their lives changed? How many of them? I only know the one. My Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I don't know what old dude talking about. I take that back. I don't like his time no more. I'm petty.
Lazarus from the dead and walked
Right.
on water and turned water into wine. And that, of course, did not happen.
Well, why couldn't people just drink water either? Why did they have to drink wine? He's trying to get people drunk? Like, what's that all
Well,
about?
that's a separate question. I think the point I'm making is that it's a very big difference to say, did he
Yes.
exist? And maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Who cares, really? Or that's very different from saying that a miracle worker,
Right.
who really did do miracles rather than conjuring tricks, existed.
Yes. What was you said that you wrote this, it's a beginner's guide, Outgrowing God.
Well, it's for young people. I originally wanted to write a book for young children, and publishers didn't want to do that. So they kept pushing the age range up, and so it stabilized at about 15. But I think 14, the first chapter has been read by one 10-year-old to my acquaintance. He loved it. And I think, but really I'm hoping it'll be read by people of all ages.
There's one thing that does happen to some people that are indoctrinated very young, that the experience is so negative to them that they rebel. And then they seek out other ways of thinking, and then you find them eventually abandoning the religion. There's a woman named Megan Phelps. Do you know who she is?
I think I do.
She's
yes.
Fred.
That's one thing I'm glad I was never like me growing up. See, just to let y'all know just a little bit about me growing up, right? So at 5 years old, I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. If you know, you know. Dusk Till Dawn is not a movie that any 5-year-old should be watching. There was no limits on my house growing up. We had to be in before the streetlights came on. We couldn't cross the street by ourselves at a young age, yada, yada, all this other stuff, right? But when it came to like what we watched, my parents watched any and everything. They were huge movie people, and I watched any and everything. So again, From Dusk Till Dawn, if you know, you know. Salma Hayek. Doggy.
Phelps from the
Yes,
Westboro
yes,
Baptist
yes.
Church. She was his granddaughter. and
Yes.
amazing woman. And
Yes.
she wound up communicating with people through all things Twitter,
Yes.
and met her husband.
So she
through Twitter.
rebelled against her
Yes.
father. Yes. Her
Her
grandfather.
grandfather. Yeah, she wound up leaving the church and wound up realizing that she was trapped in some sort of a Christian cult, and a very hateful one.
Yes.
They're the God hates fags people.
Exactly,
right?
I know. And the same was true of Nate Phelps, who was Fred Phelps' son. And he also escaped. He escaped on his 18th birthday.
Wow.
And became an atheist and became, I think he's
Escaped?
actually spoken at some of.
Hold on, man. Escape. See, man, that's okay. So I get it that unfortunately, just like anybody else, people gonna be people. That's one thing that I really people put the standard on like Christians. Like, yo, Christians can't be doing this. Christians are still people like people. Real Christians, you're right. They shouldn't be doing that, and they won't be doing that. But people who profess to be Christians, obviously, we don't know anybody's heart. Only God knows that. But we know each other by our fruits. We know each other by our fruits. So for people to say like escaping all these things, what about what's the standard for people who are atheists? The people that are atheists that commit crimes and all this stuff, do you just, oh man, well, it is what it is. Oh, but when the professed Christian does, certain things, but it is what it is, man. People gonna have their opinions and their thoughts, but unfortunately, she, may have escaped a bad church, or he may have escaped a bad church, but all you got to do is literally go and find one that makes the most sense to you, that actually preaches the right doctrine and actually shows love. Because there's obviously going to be churches not like that, i.e. Jim Jones and all these other people who, end up doing bad things in the name of the church. But that doesn't mean all churches like that.
Conferences from time to time. So,
Yeah, there's hope in that.
Yes,
right?
there is.
It's just when I like when people can, and I've had her on the podcast. She's such a unique woman, and she's so kind, and she's so thoughtful and intelligent. It's hard to believe that she's only been out of this cult for a few years. I mean, Twitter's only been around for
why wasn't she ruined by it, you're saying?
Right,
yes.
Why wasn't she ruined by it? And why she is so intelligent? How did she exist in that structure while being so intelligent?
I agree. But of course, I feel the same way about apparently intelligent people who believe obvious nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand.
Yo, man, so that was Joe Rogan talking with another fella. I still don't know. I don't care who that fella's name is, to be honest with you. Talking about if Jesus is real. They really didn't get too deep into it because obviously there are historical facts that point to Jesus being real. So if you're someone who believes in Joe Rogan and you follow Joe Rogan and you don't necessarily know, go ahead on and check out Dr. Gary Habermas and the minimal facts that he presents. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other books, but that's the one I go to because it's my favorite. So it talks about all the evidences that surround Jesus Christ. So if you're atheist or a non-believer and you rock with Joe Rogan on that, go ahead, check that out, and then you'll have some answers. Because a lot of people, I read a study the other month or so ago that 22% of people in Europe don't even believe Jesus was a real person. That's way too high. That is way too high. People who don't even know that he was actually a real person. But, you put in the fact that he was a real person and the miracles. By the way, that old man with the funny looking tie and the ridiculous British accent, it wasn't really that ridiculous. I'm just upset. So I'm going to talk about the brother saying that it didn't happen. How do you know? Was you there, homie? Where's your proof that it didn't happen, huh? Because I know my guys changed lives all throughout the days. My life, a whole bunch of other people's life. That's a miracle, brother. So for you to say, oh, it obviously never happened, where is your proof? You ain't got none. You just talking about stuff based off of your faulty reality and your faulty perception. But it is what it is. Lord willing, both of them brothers come to the Lord. And with that, we'll rejoice. Appreciate you guys watching up to this point. This has been your boy Albert. Love y'all. I'm out.